Mussolini's abuse of football didn't go unnoticed. Hitler, the master of propaganda, would take it to a new level, turning the manipulation of sport into an art. But the Nazis had a problem. The German football team of the early 1930s was no ambassador for Hitler's master race.
The strong problem of Germany in that period is they didn't have a good team. There is, in the German case, a necessity to promote an image of strength and power of the nation. And to work, you need to have a good team.
The Nazis couldn't hope to achieve the propaganda benefits that success in football had presented to Mussolini, but Hitler would still use football to serve his own political ambitions.
He now proclaims his contempt for world democracies. He withdraws Germany from the League of Nations.
Hitler took Germany out of the League of Nations in October 1933, a move that alienated the Nazis from the international community. Football would give Hitler the opportunity to reassure his European neighbours and disguise his true intentions as he prepared Germany for war.
The teams come out through lines of police, German and English players side by side, Germany white shirts.
On December the 4th, 1935, the German football team travelled to London to play England, widely regarded as the best team in the world. Anti-fascist demonstrations failed to stop the match going ahead.
The reason behind it was to show the international community, to show the British public that German people are no monsters, that Germans are civilized, that Germans can behave.
England won 3-0, but even in defeat, Hitler exploited the event to his own advantage.
The best possible spirit prevails throughout the match.
The British press acclaimed the performance of the German team and their supporters, and the sporting spirit in which the game was played.
And a third goal, this time Baston is responsible, clinches the victory after a most sporting match. Well tried, Germany.
It wasn't so much a football match as a propaganda charade. Germany's footballers had lost, but in the words of the Führer's press officer, Guido von Mengden, Germany's political soldiers of the Führer had won.
Before 1936, they tried to hide their real intentions, and football helped exactly to achieve that.
The 1936 Berlin Olympics were the most successful exploitation of a sporting event for political ends in history. Hitler used the Olympics as an opportunity to showcase the impeccable organization of the German state, the strength of Nazi ideology, and the supremacy of its Aryan race. And the whole world was watching.
Ich verkünde die Spiele von Berlin zur Feier der 11. Olympiade neuer Zeitrechnung als eröffnet.
The German Olympic team won more medals than any other country. But Hitler watched in horror as the black American Jesse Owens raced to victory in the 100 meters. 4 days later, Hitler was promised a stunning Olympic victory on the football pitch that would help to eclipse that humiliation. The Germans would play Norway, a team they were expected to beat with ease. The stage was set to reaffirm Germany's superiority, and Hitler was invited to enjoy the victory.
The game against Norway at the Olympics was Hitler's first game he ever visited himself, and he was basically promised by the people around him that Germany would easily win. And then, well, his only game where he ever went to, it was a defeat, and it was a defeat against a nation which was seen as a lot weaker than Germany in football.
Hitler immediately rose to his feet and left the ground. It was another public humiliation. His fury could only have been heightened by the fact that another German-speaking team were truly world-class. His native Austria had narrowly lost the Olympic final to Italy and were one of the favourites for the forthcoming World Cup in 1938. The Austrians, known as the Wunder Team, had contempt for German football. In 1931, they had twice demolished them, 6-0 and 5-0. While the German team was rigid, disciplined and inflexible, the Austrian team was fluid, artistic and subtle. They had won respect on the world stage for their stylish and inventive play. Matthias Schindler was the Austrian team's star player and a national hero. Nicknamed the Paperman for his slight physique, his prowess in front of goal was the making of a Viennese legend. He inspired poetry and even enjoyed a cameo in a feature film. In a recent poll, he was voted Austria's greatest sportsman of the 20th century. Schindler was the David Beckham of his era.
Conosceva molto bene la palla. Ecco perché le dico che è un uomo che si può paragonare ai grandi giocatori del calcio, proprio che hanno dato lustro, che hanno insegnato il calcio e che ha fatto innamorare il pubblico di vederlo giocare.
More than any other footballer, Schindler's life would be blighted by the manipulation of football by fascism. Egon Ulbricht grew up with Schindler on the streets of Favoriten, a town near the Czech-Austrian border. In the 1930s, they both worked for the Austria-Vienna Football Club.
Ik was secretair van Austria. Dus Schindler war Mittelstürmer von Österreich. Und das war Karl Blauer, Europameister im Leichtgewicht im Boxen. Schindler, ich kann dir wiederholen, dass einer unserer besten und liebsten Spieler war. Mehr kann, kann mir nicht noch mehr. Er ist von allen vergöttert worden. Nicht nur vom Anhang, auch von den Gegnern. Weil die haben auch ein Team, mit dem wir waren miteinander. Und das war so ein Schall, der hätte ohne den Mossel nicht leben können. Nicht? Und der Fuglians auch nicht. Und der, der Binder waren es auch Rapidler waren. Die waren alle gut miteinander.
Schindler's fame wasn't confined to Austria. He was coveted by Europe's top clubs, including Manchester United. But he had no intention of leaving his beloved Vienna.
It's said that he was, that Schindler was the best centre forward of the world. He's got his genius in his feet. And only when the ball hits the net, you just can see what kind of highly complex structure the whole action of Schindler had, you know, floating like paper.
In March 1938, Germany annexed Austria. Hitler's Wehrmacht commandeered state institutions and buildings and plundered national art collections. Annexation also offered an irresistible opportunity for the Nazis to build up the German football team by forcibly recruiting Austria's star footballers. Hitler wanted to build a team that would erase the memories of his footballing humiliation at the Olympics. The 1938 World Cup would be an opportunity to present to the world an all-conquering united Germany, with the added talents of the Austrian Wunder Team. The Nazis relished the fact that the star of their combined team would be the legendary Paperman, Matthias Schindler. But there was a problem. Schindler despised the Nazis and their annexation of his homeland. He detested the Aryans-only policy, which had driven all the Jewish officials out of his club, Austria-Vienna. Schindler became a symbol for a new kind of relationship between fascism and football.
Football became the first vehicle to express resistance. You know? It became a means of politics. But This is an historical irony, as it was designed by the Nazis as a means of politics, you know. It became a means of resistance too.
Despite intimidation and threats from Hitler's Reichssportsoffice, Schindler refused to play for the newly combined German team. But the Austrian team was forced to face the fact that it would be absorbed into the German team and effectively cease to exist. Their final game as an independent nation was a supposedly friendly match against Germany. Schindler was captain.
There was this big game, kind of the farewell game to the Austrian football team in 1938. The game was meant to be a symbol of the fraternity of the two nations.
The Nazis wanted the match to be a propaganda victory for Germany, but Austria was still the better team. Some people believe that the Austrians were advised to lose.
There were strong rumors going around that the Austrian team was not allowed to score because Schindler had 100% chances and he did nothing. He just turned away and shook his head and said no. In the second half he actually scored a goal and his best friend Karl Sester scored for the second goal, and then the both of them, they went before the VIP sector, which was full of Nazi functionaries, and they had a dance before them. So this was a kind of expression of self-confidence, you know, a kind of expression of the underdog as against the big German Reich. This was something outstanding and something the Nazis never forgave Schindler.
Within a year, Schindler would pay a high price for his act of defiance.
This is a publisher's office now, but this used to be Schindler's apartment, and it's actually still the same the way it was back then. The rooms haven't been renovated or anything back then. And there was the hallway. This was his bathroom. Schindler died at a very young age. He was only 36 years old. There were many rumors concerning his death. I've heard that he might have been murdered, but who knows.
Matthias Schindler died on January the 23rd, 1939. The circumstances of his death remain a mystery. Egon Ulbrich was with him in his coffee house on the evening of his death.
Es war eine Nacht in seinem Kaffeehaus, eine riesen Schnapserei, also sagen wir Schnapserei, eine Tipplerei. Aber da ist halt so viel, dann haben sie den Schinde einzwicken wollen, das hat man so gesagt, einzwicken. Das haben das Geld wegnehmen, nicht aufschwimmen. Und das ist halt gegangen die ganze Nacht bis in der Früh. Und dann ist natürlich trunken auch worden dabei. Und dann haben sie ihn gefunden. Jetzt sind sie gleich, das ist der erste Telefon, und ich war im Sekretariat, war um 10 Uhr Vormittag. Der Schinde ist tot, der liegt in der Anergasse Nummer 3. Er ist vergiftet.
After leaving the coffee house, Schindler visited his Italian girlfriend, Camilla Castagnola. They emptied a bottle of wine together and fell asleep. They would never wake up. They had been poisoned by carbon monoxide fumes. Castagnola went into a coma from which she never recovered. Schindler died as he slept.
It was a kind of a symbol for Viennese football that Matthias Schindler died in 1939. You know, the most outstanding character of the Vienna football died under circumstances that were never totally cleared up.
Many suspected foul play. There was an inquest into the deaths, but the official reports were lost, mislaid during the Nazi occupation. What is certain is that the Nazi secret police had targeted Schindler and his family.
Well, there's a Gestapo file on Schindler and his sisters saying that the whole family was Czech national, pro-Jewish and social democrat. This is a statement very close to a death sentence.
It is very well possible that the Nazis played a role in Schindler's death because he was a symbol for Austrian patriotism as well. So he was definitely a dangerous person for this whole merging process.
In the absence of official records from the time, the real cause of Schindler's death has been the subject of dispute and speculation ever since. To many in Austria, whether directly or indirectly, the Nazis killed Schindler, one of the greatest footballers in the world.
For me, it was clear that Schindler committed suicide because he couldn't live anymore as long as he couldn't play football anymore. The moment he wasn't able to express himself by that game and by his interpretation of the game, he was forced to commit suicide.
Without definitive evidence to establish whether it was murder or suicide, Schindler's death has been registered as an accident since 1939. For the first time, Schindler's friend has revealed the extraordinary cover-up which led to the verdict of accidental death being recorded.
Der Kotzig war schon Bürgermeister. Es ist dann gegangen die Feststellung, was ist. Der Kotzig hat mir gesagt, ihr wollt unbedingt ein Staatsbegräbnis haben. Das ist schwer gewesen. Da hat er gesagt, hören Sie zu, ich könnte denen gerne helfen, ich war der Schindler geht auch in Ordnung, aber ich kann nicht, weil das Gesetz in Deutschland nach deutschen Rechten, den narzisstischen Rechten, kann ein Mörder oder Ermordete oder Selbstmörder kein Ehrengrab kriegen. Sie müssen was machen, dass das der kriminelle Tod vom Schindler wegkommt. Und da haben wir einen gehabt, ein Wachmann, ein Revierinspektor, der größte Revierinspektor, was so ein langer Kerl war. Der Potzenasi war ein netter Kerl. Der ist zu uns gekommen, war alles in Ordnung. Der hat mir geholfen dann. Hat er gesagt, wir werden machen. Ich werde das schon mit den Kollegen tun. Das wird ein Unfall. Und es war ein Unfall geworden, ist einer gewesen, durch die Rauchgasentwicklung von den Ofen.
Schindler was given the state funeral his friend had set out to achieve. 15,000 mourners dared to line the streets to pay their respects to one of Austria's most powerful symbols of anti-fascist resistance.
Every year, people came to celebrate his day of death. Friedrich Torberg once said, he's loved by every Viennese who knows him. That means he's loved by every Viennese.
And here is the paper which bears his name upon it as well as mine.
Britain was by now engaged in a policy of appeasement towards Germany. Football helped to project an air of normality in a volatile and uncertain climate. 2 months after Germany's annexation of Austria, England travelled to Berlin to play Germany.
115,000 spectators packed the Great Olympic Stadium and are rewarded by an orgy of scoring.
The result, 6-3 to England, was good for English morale, but it did nothing to dent German prestige.
To lose to England at that time was nothing unusual because basically everybody lost to the British team at the time. So I think for Hitler the propaganda effect of that game was a lot more important than everything else.
The game was used to reassure the British public that Germany wasn't the aggressor that everyone feared. For England to play football in Berlin legitimised Hitler's regime.
The British government was subjected to a lot of pressure to stop the game taking place, but refused to do that. And in fact, interestingly enough, they said, we can't do that because we don't intervene in sport, whereas of course we know that was not so, but that was the main reason they gave for not stopping the game. And of course, in their internal discussions, that they admitted that one of the reasons they didn't want to stop the game really was because it would go against the whole policy of appeasement.
The British government colluded with the Nazis and asserted the policy of appeasement on the football pitch when images of the English team giving the Nazi salute went around the world.
And the English team in white shirts give the Nazi salute during the German national anthem.
For the British government, I think that game had an important political role, which was to support the appeasement policy of Neville Chamberlain, which then led to the Munich Treaty, which meant that Germany was allowed to invade Czechoslovakia.
The England team were advised to give the Nazi salute by the Foreign Office, a gesture made more galling by the fact that Hitler wasn't even present. It was widely criticised throughout the world as a dangerous endorsement of Hitler's Nazi regime. Only a month later, the 1938 World Cup was held in France. Hitler proclaimed that 60 million Germans will play in Paris. In a chilling precursor to an invasion only 2 years later, Italy and Germany marched into France in the name of football. In the first round, the newly combined German team, with 5 Austrians in the starting 11, were drawn to play against their neutral neighbours Switzerland, a team they were expected to beat. A 1-1 draw in the first game resulted in a replay. Germany quickly took a 2-0 lead. But the longer the game went on, the more apparent it became that even on the same team, Austrians and Germans preferred to play against each other. The Swiss scored 4 times against a German team that disintegrated under the pressure. The team the Nazis wanted to show off to the world was eliminated before the World Cup had really begun. It was another footballing humiliation for Hitler. The defending champions, Italy, were drawn against the hosts, France, in the second round. As the ultimate provocative gesture, Italy came out onto the football pitch wearing the black shirts of fascism.
Ma il nero nasce molto semplicemente perché il segretario generale del fascio, un certo Starace, suggerisce a Mussolini di dare uno schiaffo ai francesi, dicendo facciamo giocare la nazionale italiana con la maglia nera. E Mussolini dice, ah che bella cosa, facciamolo, e decide eventualmente di far giocare con la maglia nera.
Even with a hostile French crowd against them, Italy had a decisive 3-1 victory in pursuit of a second world crown. The Italians went on to retain the World Cup, beating Hungary 4-2 in the final. It was another massive propaganda victory for Mussolini.